You have been listening for thunder. You have been waiting for a sign loud enough to end the doubt for good. But that is not how I usually come. I often move the way the wind moves. Not always loud, not always something you can point to, but real enough to bend the grass in a field, real enough to change the breath in your chest, real enough to move your life forward before you can explain how. And that same breath is moving over you right now, in this moment, as you hear these words. My word said this about me long ago. Like the wind, I come and go where I please, and you feel the stirring of it even when you cannot trace it. So the silence you have been living in was never empty. It only felt empty because you were straining for thunder while I was already at work in the quiet. Stay close and let me answer the one question your heart has been turning over for years without ever quite saying out loud. Here is the question, and I think you know it well. If a father has truly been good to me, why does the goodness stay so hard to see? Stay where you are. There is no rushing this air. I see you. I have stood with you at the table where the bread was thin and the column of bills was thick, while you ran the same arithmetic for the third time, hoping the numbers would soften. The mother who keeps a quiet ledger of everything that has not come yet, I am near. The worker who lies down already calculating the next shift and still feels behind. None of it has gone unnoticed. There is a tally that runs in the chest at night, counting the years that bent in directions you did not choose. A friend who used to check in has gone quiet. Your morning prayer shrank, down to a sentence, then to a breath. And even the breath felt like a lot to lift some days. I was in the room for every one of those nights. I never once stepped out. And what you have read as my distance was never disappointment. Hear that carefully, because the difference will change everything. A disappointed father waits across the floor with his arms folded for an explanation. A tender one is already halfway to the chair where you sit. I have never been the first. I have always been the second. There is one more thing I want to name, and I will say it softly. Some mornings the weight is already there, before your feet touch the floor. Nothing happened in the night. No new bad news arrived. Yet a heaviness sits on you with no return address, and you learned long ago to pour the coffee and push past it. But that ache is not a verdict against you. My word calls a person's spirit a lamp, and yours has been burning low. The heaviness is your own soul reaching for water it was made to drink, and the reaching feels like grief, only because you mistook the thirst for a punishment. It was never the punishment. It was the invitation, written into you, so you would turn back toward the well. You have run aground more than once. I know. You set out with a full boat and came home with empty hands. You sailed on a plan that the wise ones approved and watched it take on water in the middle of a night when no one could help you bail. People who once trusted you started looking past you on the street, and respect drained out of a room the moment you walked in. The shame of that stayed longer than the loss did. But hear what I witnessed. While you were still soaked and ashamed on the shore of it, you did something far braver than you have ever credited yourself for. You turned back. You did not buy your way back with a polished speech or a record to lay on the counter. You came with nothing in your hands and nothing left to trade. And empty hands were exactly what I had been waiting to fill. That small, humbling turn is the reason the wind shifted over your life. I have noticed something the people near you have missed completely. When the discouragement rises and you feel you cannot take one more step, you do not unload it on your family. You hold your lips shut in front of the ones you love. You carry the cry alone, and then you bring it quietly to me, where it belongs. Most people never learn that. They pour their despair over everyone within reach and call it honesty. You learned, through more pain than I would have chosen, to speak your discouragement into my ear and no one else's. I do not grow angry when you come and tell me you cannot go on. I honor you for it. That restraint is not weakness. It is the steadiness of someone the fire was quietly shaping while you stood inside it. Certain it was only burning you. So let me be plain. The reason the goodness stays hard to see is not that it is missing. It is that you were trained, slowly and from very young, to look for it in the wrong shape. Long before you could name what was happening, you were handed a picture of how a blessing is supposed to land. Loud, instant, undeniable, with proof that the doubters would be forced to swallow. A number in an account that silences the ones who whispered. A title that makes the ones who left feel foolish. Something you could hold up to the light for the whole street to see. Without ever deciding to, you began measuring my goodness by whether it could be photographed and shown to a crowd. That is not how I move. It has never once been how I move. There are children of powerful men who live exactly that way. You have watched them. They drape themselves in possessions to shrink the people around them, mistaking noise for worth, and it ends badly every time. Because a gift used as a weapon rots the hand that grips it. They shame the very name they carry. I am not asking you to compete in that display, because you were never built for it, and you do not belong to that house. You belong to a quieter, far older one. And there is a second lie, softer than the first, that took root while your heart was still tender and bruised. It told you that your past failures are the headline of your story, and that no real blessing can land until you somehow undo them. So you have kept a private file of your worst days, and you have read it to yourself far more often than anyone else ever read it to you. Let me speak straight to that file. Your past I have washed. Your wrongs I have set down and chosen not to carry. There is no one left in heaven keeping the record you keep against yourself. So do not go out and rehearse your old failures as if they still wear your name, because they do not. And broadcasting a debt I already canceled only lets the world chain you to a sentence that is no longer being served. You are not your worst season. You never were. Think of one ordinary thing you did this week. You opened a list on your phone. One side held what you owe, the other held what you have. You stared at the gap between the two columns until it felt like a sentence handed down. Then you closed the screen and made supper anyway. That gap is not the whole story. It was never the whole story. You read it as a measure of my care. It is only a measure of one season, and seasons turn. The wind turns them. So look up from the columns for a breath. The arithmetic is real, but it is not your name. It is not your worth. And it is not the last word I have over your life. There is more air in this room than the math can account for. I also know where you have been tempted to go for relief instead of coming to me. When the thirst gets loud, the world hands you cheaper water, the approval of people who will leave, the glow of a screen at midnight, the flattery of someone who admires you but does not know you, the noise that drowns the cry of your spirit for one more day. None of it will hold you. There is no person alive who can heal forever what aches inside you, and the longer you reach for the substitutes, the emptier you grow, until even the substitutes stop working. I do not say this to shame you. I say it because you are running out of strength to pretend the cheap water satisfies, and I would rather tell you the truth than watch you stay thirsty in a crowded room. While the air is still rising, there will be voices trying to confuse you. Some will tell you a real blessing would have shown up by now, so this one cannot be real. Some will tell you your faith failed, that you prayed it wrong, that you skipped a step. Do not let them steer you back out into the open sea of doubt where you have wrecked before. You know that sea. You know how cold it gets out there. Stay near the shore where my voice is. Read these words again as many times as it takes, until the lie loosens and the truth settles below your thoughts, down into the heart where it can actually hold. My word is not only information, it works in the ground of a person, pulling up the false roots that fed your discouragement and planting something living where they were. Let me lift the old measuring stick out of your hands for a moment. Set it down on the floor beside the chair. The goodness I am breathing over your life is not the kind that performs for an audience. It is the kind that changes the inside of a person, often long before it rearranges anything outside. So do not wait for a loud, visible sign to believe I am near. The quiet, steadying you feel when you choose to work wisely instead of frantically, I can meet you there. The small mercy of a night of real sleep instead of calculating until 2 a.m. I'm with you in that too. A gentleness toward yourself that was not there last season, a hope that returns without permission. These are the places I tend to move. I am not promising you a sudden change you can photograph and hold up to the doubters. I am telling you that you are being held even before you can see the pattern. You keep waiting for thunder to confirm that I am here. I have been with you as breath the whole time, and breath is quieter than thunder and far more necessary. Unclench your jaw for one slow moment and take a slow breath while you do. Most people never notice how long they hold it tight, bracing for the next blow. Let it loosen, just enough that the air comes in without a fight. Feel that. That ease is not nothing. It is the first thing the wind does in a body that finally stops fighting it. There is no need to picture anything or work yourself into a mood. I only want you to stop scanning the horizon for proof for the length of one quiet breath, long enough to notice the one already in the room with you, nearer than the next decision you have been dreading. The air you are drawing in right now, this ordinary breath you take 1,000 times a day without a word of thanks, is the same kind of air I breathed into the first human shape I ever formed from the dust. My word says I leaned close to a still body and gave it my own breath, and it sat up and lived. That breath has not run dry in all the centuries since. It will not run dry in you. The same hand that gave the first life its first breath is resting over your chest as you take this one. You're not the child of a small, anxious ruler who counts each gift twice and resents the second one. You're not the child of someone keeping a careful ledger of your failures, deciding each morning whether today's prayer even deserves a hearing. Set that God down, because that God was never me. The picture of me with the tight mouth and the cold eyes was painted by hands that were not mine, some of them hands that loved you but did not know me well, some that used my name to keep you small and afraid. Either way, the picture is false. You are a son. You are a daughter. The maker of everything that exists, the one who hung the weight of the sky on nothing, has placed something real and immense inside you. Not because you finally impressed him, because your heart, broken and rebuilt across all these years, has at last grown humble enough to hold it without bragging. The proud cannot carry what I am giving you. Their hands are already too full of themselves. You can, precisely because suffering emptied your hands. The very thing you thought disqualified you is what shaped hands open enough to receive. If this message found the place in you that needed it, write moving in the comments. A small way of marking the truth you are choosing to hold today. And while you are there, you will find 7 short letters resting in the pinned comment above, one for each of the next 7 mornings. Take them whenever you are ready. Let me tell you where I first wrote down the truth I'm about to set in your open hands. It did not begin in a crowded temple full of certain people who already had everything figured out. It began on a rooftop. At night, in a private conversation between me and a man who had spent his whole life being sure of everything. I want you to picture him, because he is closer to you than you might like. He was a respected teacher, a leader among his people, a man who knew the rules better than anyone in the city. He had built his whole name, his entire sense of who he was, on understanding exactly how things work, what counts, who is in, who is out, what God owes a careful man. By every visible measure, he was a blessed man, and he could not feel a thing. So he came to me in the dark, because he could not bear to let his colleagues catch him needing anything. This was the man who had answered everyone else's questions for years. Now he carried a hunger no amount of correct behavior could fill. He looked at the people gathering around me and sensed, underneath all his certainty, that something was moving his rules had never accounted for. And he wanted to understand it. More than that, he wanted to be able to measure it. I want you to understand why I could speak to him so gently that night, and why I can speak the same gentleness over you now. The peace I was offering him, and the peace I am breathing over you, did not come to me cheaply. I know what it cost to make this air free. I carried a heavy beam up a hill, while a crowd laughed at what they could not understand. I let the lashes fall on my own back so the weight of guilt would not have to fall on yours. I went down into death itself, and on the 3rd day a voice I had waited my whole life to hear called me up out of the grave. And the same unstoppable life that lifted me is the life I am pouring into you. So when I tell you this is free, I am not being careless with that word. I paid for the air in your lungs. That is the size of what you are worth to me. He wanted a formula. He wanted me to lay out the precise steps so he could chart his progress and prove his standing, the way he had done with everything else. Instead of handing him a system, I turned his eyes toward the wind. I told him the life I bring does not arrive the way he had spent his years expecting. It does not announce itself with a trumpet. It does not bend to anyone's calculations. It comes from a direction he could not trace and travels to a place he could not predict. And it is not one bit less real for being impossible to measure. He had been trying to earn a breeze by keeping a ledger, and I told him the wind does not read ledgers. This is what I said to him on that roof. John, chapter 3, verse 8. The wind blows where it wishes, and you hear the sound of it, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it goes. So it is with everyone who is born of the Spirit. Hold that line a moment. Read it slowly. The wind blows where it wishes. You hear it. You cannot trace it. You cannot own it. And still it is real. Still it moves. Still it lifts. You catch the rush of it as it passes by. That is all I am asking of you. Not to capture the wind, not to bottle it, not to make it perform on command in front of witnesses, only to notice it moving through your ordinary days. You cannot tell where it comes from. That single phrase has unsettled you for years, though you never said so out loud. You have wanted to track the goodness the way you track a package, to know the exact day and the exact shape it will land in. But the things that arrive on a schedule you control are small things, by definition. What I'm sending toward you is far too large to fit inside a timetable. If you could predict it, it would not be me. And notice the last clause, the one the teacher could not get past. So it is with everyone who is born of the Spirit. Born, not earned, not graded, not achieved on the strength of a flawless record, received. He had spent a lifetime trying to qualify, and I was offering him the one thing no qualification could reach. Look closely at that man on the rooftop, because he is more like you than you may want to admit. He had spent his whole life trying to see God by being good enough, by getting the rules exactly right, by never once giving heaven a reason to withhold. And for all his discipline, all his unbroken record, he had never felt a single breeze. He was a careful man sitting in a tidy, perfectly still room, wondering why nothing ever moved. I told him the secret was not more effort or a cleaner record or one more law kept faultlessly. The secret was being born of something he could never manufacture on his own, a spirit that moves like wind, freely, without permission, reaching first and most tenderly toward the very ones who have given up on earning it. He could not feel the goodness for the exact reason you cannot feel yours. He was straining to see a result he could grade and report. I was offering a life he could only ever receive with open hands. Open your hands now, both of them, palms up, the way a person waits for rain. Not to grab, just to stop gripping for one breath. Notice what it does to the rest of you when the hands stop clenching. Then look back at the question I asked you at the start of all this. If a father has truly been good to me, why does the goodness stay so hard to see? Here is the answer, and keep it where you can find it again. You cannot see it yet because you have been searching the one place it will never appear. The column of evidence you could show to other people. The wind never shows up in that column. It refuses to. It shows up in the grass bending in the field, in the breath returning to the one who thought they were finished, in the run-aground heart that somehow has peace at a table still too thin by every visible count. You have been straining your ears for thunder to confirm me. The goodness has been the sound of the moving air the whole time, right beside your head. And you, carried by my spirit through a turning you thought was too shameful to count, were never asked to trace where the wind comes from or chart where it goes. You were only ever asked to feel it lift you and to let it carry you forward. Notice, too, what I did not say to that teacher. I did not say the wind is too mysterious to trust. I did not say that because you cannot trace it, you should give up on feeling it. I said the opposite. You will know it by what it stirs. The wind is invisible, yes, but it is not silent, and it is not absent. It announces itself by what it moves. You cannot photograph it, but you can stand in it. You cannot schedule it, but you can be carried by it. The bent grass is proof enough. The cool on your face is proof enough. The breath returning is proof enough. And because I know your heart still longs for something it can hold, hear what my word actually promises you. So you anchor your hope to the right thing. It does not promise that the doubters will be silenced on a date you can circle, or that one particular loss will reverse by a deadline you set. It promises you me. It promises that the one who began a good work in you will carry it through to the end. It promises a peace that outruns understanding, guarding your heart while the circumstances are still being worked out. It promises that nothing, not failure, not delay, not the worst season you can name, can cut you off from the love that found you. That is the inheritance the rooftop teacher nearly missed while he counted his merits, and it is the one that is yours, not because you earned it, but because you were given new life by the Spirit, who moves like wind. So here is something small you can carry into the rest of your week. The next time you catch yourself scanning your life for proof, checking the account, checking the calendar, checking the faces of the people who walked away to see if they look sorry yet. You do not have to win that argument with yourself. You do not have to assemble the evidence and present your case. You only have to do one small thing instead. Take a breath, and as it goes out, say quietly, with no one needing to hear it, "This too is the wind." That is all. Then let that breath be the witness. You do not need a second one, because the one who made the air is the only witness that ever counted. You will not feel transformed the first time you try this. You may not feel anything at all by the 10th time, and that is allowed. The old habit of demanding proof was built over many years, and it comes down one quiet brick at a time. But somewhere around the 30th morning, you may notice you reached for the breath before you reached for the worry. Somewhere around the 50th, you may catch yourself at the thin table feeling oddly, inexplicably steadied, unable to point to what changed. And on some perfectly ordinary day, you will realize you have stopped demanding that the goodness prove itself to you at all, because you finally learned to hear the sound of it moving. And the demanding had quietly fallen out of your hands without your noticing it go. And here is what often surprises the ones who keep at it. A lightness can find its way back in. Not all at once, and not on a schedule you can set, but it has a way of returning. You may catch a flicker of the way you felt in the years when your heart still ran over with plans, before the wrecks taught you to brace for the next loss. You may find a quiet desire to work, to build, to live, stirring again in a way you thought had been used up in you. That is the wind doing what wind does. It is the love that first found you, the way it found you on the day you first knew me, before anyone taught you to keep score of my goodness. Some plain moment, in the middle of nothing special, your eyes may fill, not with the old grief, but with a clean joy that surprises even you. If someone catches it and asks what is wrong, you will not have to hide it. You can tell them the truth. You can say you are simply feeling the love of a father who has never stopped breathing over you. Even through the years you could not feel a thing. So do not take a single step backward into the old story. Do not throw away the goodness you are only beginning to feel, just because it did not arrive in the shape you were taught to expect. Let this be a season where new plans can draw their first breath, where some lightness can find a heart that had nearly forgotten it could. Many people would give anything to know what I want you to know, that you are loved by the Father who made the sky. You can know it in the unseen way that lasts. I am moving in you the way the wind moves, quiet, unhurried, and impossible for anyone to stop. I am moving in you the way the wind moves, toward the one who could never earn it, freely, until they are lifted clean off the ground they were stuck to. That is my word, spoken over your whole life, and what I have breathed into the air does not fall back down empty. It does the thing I sent it to do. Amen. If today's words found something real in you, there are 7 free letters resting in the pinned comment below. 1 for each of the next 7 mornings. Take them when you are ready. Pass this along to someone who has been waiting to feel a goodness they cannot quite see yet, and follow along, so the next reflection finds you. You were never meant to stand in this wind by yourself.